Money has long equaled power, but does it also equal intelligence? Many people seem to think so, regardless of any evidence to the contrary. Both in movies and TV and in real life, we've seen a number of recent examples of the problems, big and small, that can arise when immense wealth comes to dominate views of what it means to be smart, productive, and capable.
We literally have the resources, the mental capacity. It would be ludicrous to say to take over the world, but in layman's terms, to take over the world.
So what's really behind this trend? And how does it harm all of us? Let's take a closer look. The idea that the ultra-wealthy deserve to have more money and resources is certainly not new. Though in our modern era, it has evolved from the older ideas around it being some sort of divine right for some over others, into the belief that it's all from the result of hard work, and thus earned. As tech has come to dominate our world, those who create it, or fund the creation of it by others, have become a major symbol for this mindset. These people often are, or at some point were, very competent, and usually ahead of the curve in some particular aspect, say coding, and were able to spin that skill set into immense wealth. Because they excel to such a great degree in this one arena, it can then in turn be assumed that they must be good at everything. They have all of this money, so they must know what they're doing, right?
He had said it was loud, but he had said that's what we expected. That's the carbon fiber seasoning. I've never heard of seasoning a hole.
This dovetails with the other side of that same coin. People who were born incredibly rich and assume this automatically endows them with more know-how and capability than those who were not. In both cases, these people fully buy into the idea that their money is indeed proof that they both know everything and deserve to remake the world however they want.
I'm the eldest boy! I am the eldest boy!
But even when it's born out of some initial spark of knowledge, the truth is that the one real skill that underlies immense wealth is actually just the ability to convince other rich people to give you their money.
The only thing to say is, do we think the Western Hemisphere is a little meager, kind of used up?
As technology writer Ed Zitron put it in his newsletter, we live in the era of the symbolic executive, when being good at stuff matters far less than the appearance of doing stuff, where what's useful is dictated not by outputs or metrics that one can measure, but rather the vibes passed between managers and executives that have worked their entire careers to escape the world of work. Our economy is run by people that don't participate in it, and our tech companies are directed by people that don't experience the problems they allege to solve for their customers. As the modern executive is no longer a person with demands or responsibilities beyond their allegiance to shareholder value.
We're persuading more and more shareholders every day that we offer them just a slightly better chance for them to make a little bit more money on their dollar.
Being the best at separating bigger fools from more money isn't the kind of smarts these people want to be known for, however. They often have a desperate need to be seen as hyper-intelligent. Being richer than everyone else isn't enough. They want to be constantly reassured that they're smarter than everyone else, too.
The antidote to bad tech is good tech.
The, well, they must be doing something right mindset, combined with a hope that latching onto and upholding these figures will lead to one's own payday, creates a landscape where they are upheld as geniuses who are saving the world, even when all signs point to the opposite.
That's why we work so hard. Because this machine, and all of us, are going to change the world.
One positive place you can focus your energy this summer is on creating healthy meal habits so that you can feel your best all summer long. It's the perfect time to get into Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for clean eating. Green Chef is focused on helping you build healthy habits without the hassle. From quick meals to 5-minute salads to protein-packed breakfasts and more. Whatever your meal plan and whatever you like to eat, Green Chef has something for you, including all those extra fuel boosters to keep you going throughout your day, like these yummy smoothies. And you can adjust your plan anytime, so your meal plan will always work with your schedule. Their recipes feature fresh, organic, seasonal produce, and 100% responsibly sourced proteins across so many different meal options, from plant-based to protein-packed to gluten-free and beyond. We've been particularly loving this Italian pork soup with roasted cauliflower. because it tastes great and only takes 25 minutes to cook. All of their meals are so easy to make, so you can have a tasty, healthy meal ready to go in no time. And if you want even faster meals, they've got you covered. Their new Heat and Eat meals are ready in just 3 minutes. We love using Green Chef because it allows us to create healthy meals that also taste great and are ready in a flash. So we can spend less time prepping and cleaning and more time enjoying the summer. Make this summer your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Head to greenchef.com/50thetake and use code 50thetake to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's code 50thetake at greenchef.com/50thetake. Even when these people continually fail to meet set goals or to actually prove their own capabilities in any capacity, as long as they can keep the money coming in, they'll continue to be hailed as geniuses. Any failure is either hand-waved away or reframed as actually being a win. While Stockton Rush's choices at OceanGate were long decried as incredibly unsafe and irresponsible by people with actual experience, because he was protected by the bubble of his own riches, and was able to continue getting other rich people to pay him for dives, nothing ever really stood in his way.
Stockton told me it would be nothing for him to spend $50,000 to ruin somebody's life.
He was able to skirt regulations and safety protocols because he framed it as innovation. All of those people voicing concerns were just afraid of progress.
In the end, they discounted the one system that was going to be vital to their operations. It is really, in my mind, like the smoking gun of what eventually caused this.
This is a refrain that is often used now to ignore any pushback against these alleged geniuses. Anyone with a problem is just too stupid to really understand their grand, intelligent vision. People who are afraid of being left behind and missing the boat on their own riches double down in their own support to show that they do get it. And so, the ladder of supposed intelligence that is really based solely on money climbs ever higher, regardless of the damage done.
It's a great turning of the wheel.
I think that's why I'm so excited about these atrocities.
The near-complete immunity from consequences is in direct contrast to how things work for everyone else, where we're often punished for even minor slip-ups or even things that we had zero control over. Jesse Armstrong thoroughly explored the idea of the corruption of the soul required to endlessly grasp for more and more money, even at great cost to those closest to you, yourself, and the world at large, with his hit show Succession.
There's a line.
Nothing is a line. Everything, everywhere, is always moving. Forever.
He touched on the concept of the asshole tech bro with Lucas Matson in that show, and recently dug in deeper with his new film Mountainhead, which follows 4 ultra-wealthy friends. Already shielded from much of reality by their wealth, here they're also literally separated from the world, high up in the mountains and totally divorced from the havoc their choices are wreaking on the world. Ven's social media platform has begun spreading AI disinformation en masse, but instead of just offlining the feature and fixing the issue, he instead seeks to buy his way out of the problem so that he doesn't ever have to admit fault.
I just want to say this is not on you, Venice.
Obviously, this is not on me. Why would you even say that?
But it's not just Ven. All of these characters are solely focused on themselves and how they can use their wealth to wield power over each other and shape the world around their own vision.
You coup out Western Hemisphere, you hopscotch, Maghreb, Saudi, Iran, Asia.
Their entire sense of identity and self is wrapped up in their net worth. Not just how much money they have, but also if they have more than everyone else. And because of this, they're willing to do terrible things to society to make more money, but also are even willing to do bad things to their so-called friends to make sure that they have the most money. Generative AI is becoming a very useful tool in these geniuses' efforts to paint themselves as the stewards of the future, and to rewrite the present and past to more closely align with how they think things should be. A recent study by Microsoft and Carnegie Mellon University found that while Gen AI can improve worker efficiency, it can inhibit critical engagement with work and can potentially lead to long-term over-reliance on the tool and diminished skill for independent problem-solving. Higher confidence in Gen AI's ability to perform a task is related to less critical thinking effort. If people stop even being able to question these so-called geniuses altogether, then there will really be nothing standing between them and their desire to consume everything. This effort to constantly be hurtling forward comes out of a desire to not leave time for anyone to question or push back against these geniuses' decisions. They feel that if they can just move fast enough, they can force the world to mold itself into their image, and then it'll be too late for anyone to do anything about it. Focus isn't on creating useful products or helping people or even creating genuinely successful businesses, but instead just making sure to keep the money flowing while keeping up the facade of hyperintelligence.
He was a humble human being, but he was an arrogant scientist for sure. Like, he knew he was smart. There was no doubt about it. He knew he was a genius even.
In his piece, Citron continues, when the leader of a company doesn't participate in or respect the production of the goods that enriches them, creates a culture that enables similarly vacuous leaders on all levels. Decades of direct erosion of the very concept of leadership means that the people running companies have been selected not based on their actual efficacy, especially as the position became defined by its lack of actual production, but on whether they resemble what a manager or executive is meant to look like based on the work that somebody else did. The goal is no longer to actually be a tech genius, but just to appear to be one and reap the benefits. This belief that their immense wealth is proof that they know more than everyone else, and that whatever avenue they want to go down is the correct one, and the refusal to hear the word no, leads to dangerous consequences in both the micro and macro.
There's really nothing that happens that requires an immediate response. You hear an alarm, just don't worry about it. Best thing you can do is don't do anything.
Stockton Rush's Titan submersible did eventually implode, just as people had warned it would. But Rush wasn't the only one who paid the price. 4 other people also lost their lives in the incident. But more often, these kinds of rich geniuses don't ever seem to face any real consequences at all. Or if they do, it's only seen as a momentary blip in their upward trajectory. Mountainhead, like Succession, ends on an unfortunately quite honest note. While these people might be making themselves miserable with their poor choices and empty souls, at the end of the day, they're still going to be very wealthy and very powerful.
I can come inside, but I'll come for you in the end. You know that.
That's what's exciting.
Losing for them is just essentially the idea that they didn't get everything they wanted, not any form of real tangible consequence.
Here's the thing about being rich. It's great. You get to do what you want. The authorities can't really touch you. You get to wear a costume.
All of the harm these giants dole out to others in seeking their own goals is just framed as a necessary part of progress. Gen AI in particular has been a huge driver of this in recent years. Take, for example, the AI data center built near Memphis. It was framed as something that would help pull the community into the future, but instead has only caused problems. According to the Southern Environmental Law Center, touted as the world's largest supercomputer, the facility powers Grok, the company's AI chatbot, and requires massive amounts of power. To meet the data center's incredible energy demands, XAI set up, and is still running, more than 30 unpermitted methane gas turbines. In other words, XAI essentially set up a power plant without any permits, without any oversight, and without any formal input from nearby communities. Local resident Sarah Gladney told CNN, "Our health was never considered. The safety of our communities was never, ever considered." In all of these pushes towards the future by the rich geniuses, there's always the refrain that it'll all be worth it in the end. But worth it for who?
Yeah, it's so much better to do one big upgrade on the whole world than walking around with fucking patches, solving malaria.
Yeah.
This all in many ways feels like an impossible Goliath to defeat.
This is a terrifying experience, and I don't know that I'll ever recover.
But we're not without hope. There has once again been major pushback against the idea that we should all be willing to risk or even ruin our own lives in order to continually enrich the already wealthy even further, combined with calls for real regulation and transparency. Because the rich geniuses have so easily been able to purchase many of the levers of power, more and more people are beginning to focus on local elections and community building as ways to begin re-leveling the playing field. And above all else, people are finally shaking themselves out of the mindset that having vast amounts of money in a world where others must go without is on its own an indicator of anything other than greed. Instead of upholding these fake geniuses, We can instead begin focusing on all of the true brilliance around us that can actually help us build a better future.
The truth is way more depressing. They're not even smart enough to be as evil as you're giving them credit for.
That's The Take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.